Greetings from Temecula, California. It is Friday, and I love Fridays. Nothing better than a little end of a week relief, a little head start on the weekend, and of course some good old-fashioned sports talk. I hope you've got your water, your snacks, if you're like me, your lucky chair, because today we've got a lineup that'll make your head spin. We're diving into week 5 of college football. Every game you need to watch, every matchup that's going to tell us who's legit and who's, well, just pretending to be. We'll break down the teams, the key players, the sleepers, and the ones who should probably just stay home and rethink their lives. Then we're hitting NFL Week 4, the teams I like, the teams I don't, and maybe a little advice for your fantasy league. Spoiler alert, some of your favorites are not going to make you look smart, so buckle up. And of course, we've got day 1 of the Ryder Cup. That's right, the drama, the tension, the triumphs, the heartbreak. And don't worry, I'll get you caught up, even if you didn't catch the first tee off. It happened at 7 a.m. this morning, so it was early, I know. Now, before we dive too deep into the games, I do want to talk about something we do every day, and that is putting on our shoes. I saw a TikTok today, and that is the world's finest expert on life skills, this guy on TikTok. And this guy is putting on his socks and shoes like it's some kind of avant grande performance, Sock, shoe. What is that? No. Stop. Anything but that. No. Come on. It's sock, shoe. Step 1, sock. Step 2, sock. Step 3, shoe. Step 4, shoe. It's simple, it works. And it's the way civilization survives. Remember, you can have all of the stats, all the plays, all the victories, but if you can't put your socks and shoes on in the right order, nothing else matters. So tighten those laces and get ready to enjoy the ride. This is sports. It is shoes done right, and we're about to have some fun. You're tuned in to the Ryder Report. I'm Ryder Bullock. Let's get started, and we begin on a cool Friday at Bethpage Black. Europe's biggest stars came ready for the moment. The Americans, not quite. Day 1 of the 45th Ryder Cup belonged to the visitors. Tommy Fleetwood, Roy McIlroy, John Rahm, all unbeaten. And after a full day of foursomes and 4-ball, Europe holds a commanding 5.5 to 2.5 lead. The morning belonged to the blue and gold. Rahm and Hatton winners 4 and 3. Aberg and Fitzpatrick dominant 5 and 3. McIlroy and Fleetwood relentless 5 and 4. Only Schauffele and Cantley found red on the board with a hard-fought 2-up win. By afternoon, the story stayed the same. Europe took 2 matches, halved another, and by sunset, they had control. European captain Luke Donald summed it up simply. Incredible day, a strong start, and our guys delivered, and delivered they did. A near miss on 18 from McIlroy kept the Americans from an even deeper hole. Patrick Cantley and Sam Burns salvaged a half point, but the scoreboard still favors Europe. For U.S. captain Keegan Bradley, the message tonight, patience. It's just the first quarter. They played better, they made more putts, but our spirits are high. We'll be ready tomorrow. And they'll need to be. History tells the story. Europe has led after day one 6 times since 1999, and each time they've got on to win it. The last time they didn't, Brookline, the miracle comeback. The Americans will hope for history to repeat itself, but to do it, they'll need the biggest names to rise. Scottie Scheffler, the world's number one, went 0-2 today. Neither match made it to the 17th hole, a rare sight, a troubling one. Scheffler's words were honest. He said, "We had chances. I didn't make enough putts. We've got to be better." And while Scheffler struggled, Jon Rahm soared, unbeaten again, now 9 straight in team play. Still one of the game's fiercest competitors, no matter what the world rankings say. Fleetwood, as steady as ever, 2 matches, 2 wins, a contest thorn in Americans' side. The lone bright spot for Team USA came late. Cameron Young, a Ryder Cup rookie and a local kid just 30 miles from Bethpage. He partnered with Justin Thomas for a resounding 6-5 win. Young looked fearless, 5 birdies in just 13 holes, a moment he'll never forget. "It's special," he said. "I love this place. To do it here in front of these fans means everything." So as the sun sets on day one at Bethpage Black, Europe holds the cards 5.5 to 2.5. Momentum on their side, confidence in full supply. For the Americans, it's a climb, a test of patience, poise, and pride. Saturday brings another set of foursomes at dawn and another chance to turn the tide. From golf to week 4 of the National Football League. And we've got some very interesting matchups this weekend. A couple of storylines that jump at you right away. First off, rookie quarterback Jackson Dart making his debut for the Giants. And let's be honest, the Giants are desperate. They're 0-3. They need something, anything. And they're going to throw the kid in there against a very tough Chargers team. Not exactly the soft landing spot you'd like for a rookie, but this is the NFL. You sink or you swim. We'll see what the kid's got. Now, Green Bay and Dallas, that's another one. Packers, Cowboys, 2 proud franchises. The big story, of course, Micah Parsons was just a couple of months ago with Dallas. Gets traded to Green Bay 3-4 days before the season starts. And here we are now, Micah Parsons back in Dallas, but in a Packer uniform. That's the big story there. You know that building's going to be buzzing. Micah's playing at an elite level, leading the league in pressures, playing angry, playing fast. Cowboys have their backs against the wall. They need this one badly. And then we've got what's maybe the strangest headline of all, the Ravens and the Chiefs both sitting at 1-2. Now, I told you 3 weeks ago that Mahomes and Lamar would both have losing records heading into week 4. And you said, Ryder, you're crazy. But here we are. Both teams are trying to steady the ship. That's a heavyweight matchup on CBS. National game. I expect points. I expect fireworks. And I expect one of these teams to walk out of there feeling a whole lot better about their season. Now, we're starting the weekend early. Sunday morning in Dublin, Ireland. Steelers and Vikings, both teams 2-1. Both still trying to figure out who they are. Steelers defense hasn't looked like a typical Steelers defense. I think it's one of the worst in the league. Vikings banged up at quarterback. Carson Wentz is going to start again. And Carson Wentz is your quarterback. Anything can happen, good or bad. He looked good last week. Will it be the same? I don't know. You look around the league, the Colts quietly 3-0. They're running the ball. Jonathan Taylor's back to looking like a star, but they go into LA to play the Rams, and that's not an easy matchup. Rams defense getting after the quarterback. That's one of the best games of of the afternoon, Sunday night, Packers-Cowboys. That's the one everyone's going to watch. And then Monday night, we've got a doubleheader. Jets and Dolphins, both 0-3. Somebody's got to win. You got two teams with no identity, no takeaways, no rhythm. It's been ugly football, but one of them's got to get off the mat Monday night. And then the nightcap, Bengals and Broncos. Cincinnati trying to protect what they've got going on. Joe Burrow out, and their offensive line is a mess. Denver just trying to figure out who they are who they are. They have no identity again, but two teams going in the wrong direction. Somebody's got to, course correct. So week 4, you've got your rookies making debuts. You got your stars coming back to old stomping grounds. You've got championship quarterbacks looking to get off the mat. It's going to be a fun weekend. Let's break it down game by game. We'll start in Dublin. Steelers against the Vikings. Steelers 2-1, Vikings 1-2. Now this one's tricky because the Steelers, like I said, are 2-1, but man, they've been giving up big plays left and right. That's not Pittsburgh football. That's not what you expect from a Mike Tomlin team. And for Minnesota, they're rolling with Carson Wentz again. And look, we've seen this movie before. He'll flash early, couple nice throws, maybe a scoring drive. Then the mistakes creep in. Holds the ball too long, tries to play hero. And next thing you know, turnover city. This game's all about ball security. Who protects it better? Pittsburgh's the better coached team. They'll win the field position game, control the clock, and grind one out. It's not going to be a pretty win. It's going to be physical, old school football. I like the Steelers in that game. Chargers and the Giants. Here's the big storyline. Rookie quarterback Jackson Dart making his first NFL start. The kid's got tools, confidence, swagger, but he's walking straight into a buzzsaw. This Chargers defense is for real. They disguise looks, bring heat, and they make young quarterbacks pay. That's a lot to handle in your first start. I get why the Giants made the switch. They need a spark. But this matchup, that's tough. You're facing an undefeated, confident team with a veteran coach. This one could get out of hand fast. I like the Chargers in that game. Colts, Rams. Okay, Colts are undefeated. Rams are 2-1. And don't look now. Indy's unbeaten. Jonathan Taylor. Looks like his old self, the O-line clearing lanes, and Daniel Jones is playing clean football. But here's the test. You go on the road against a physical Rams team that plays fast and aggressive on defense. Stafford's been sharp, and when he's healthy, he can, carve you up. This game is going to tell us if the Colts are for real. Can they handle a smart coach, a veteran quarterback in pressure for 4 quarters? I think the Colts can. And I think the Rams will lose 2 straight. They lost to the Eagles last week. And I think they're going to lose to the Colts this week. Let's keep moving on. To Ravens and the Chiefs. Now, this is the headline act. 2 contenders sitting at 1-2, both looking in the mirror like, what's going on here? Baltimore's scoring, but can't stop a thing. Kansas City's offense hasn't quite clicked. Mahomes looks like he's pressing. This one's about urgency, pride. You're going to see the stars step up. Adjustment, intensity. But Mahomes, he's not losing 3 straight. Not at Arrowhead. Not with Andy Reid. Chiefs win it 31-27. And it's not going to be 3 straight, because the Chiefs won Sunday against the Giants. But they're not losing the Chiefs are not going to lose for a few more games. Packers Cowboys. Packers 2-1. Cowboys 1-2. Sunday Night Football. Now this one should be fun. Two historic franchises on a big stage. Micah Parsons back in Dallas. The crowd's going to be electric. But the issue is Green Bay. That offensive line banged up, and Jordan Love's been feeling the heat. When you're short-handed up front and you walk into Dallas against that pass rush, that's a problem. This is a desperation game for the Cowboys. They can't afford a 1-3 start. They'll play fast. They'll feed off the energy. But I think this Packers team is too tough to handle for Dallas. You know, Jordan Love's playing very good football. And I just don't know if Dallas's defense can hold up. And for that reason and that reason alone, I'm picking the Packers. Jets and the Dolphins on Monday night. Let's be honest, this one's ugly. Both winless. Neither team has forced a turnover all season. That's unbelievable. The Jets can't run it. The Dolphins can't finish drives. Somebody's got to win. But this is not what the league hoped for in prime time. If New York gets Breece Hall going, Fields, I think, is playing. And if he can avoid mistakes, they got a shot. Miami's been lifeless and that. But, you know, I don't know if Fields is playing. The uncertainty there makes me want to go with the Dolphins. So I'll take the Dolphins in that game. Bengals and the Broncos. The late one, Cincinnati's beat up again. Burrow's under siege. Doubtful that he's playing. And Denver's front has been nasty. Bentito's living in the backfield. The Broncos have been sloppy. Yeah, the penalties stalled drives, but at home, under the lights, attitude and altitude in play, I think they'll pull it together. I like the Broncos to beat the Bengals. We'll give you a full week 4 pick right now, but by the way, I got to let you know I went 11-5 last week, if you were paying attention. This week, give me the Steelers to beat the Vikings, the Commanders to beat the Falcons. They'll take the Bills at home against the Saints, Lions at home against the Browns, the Patriots against the Panthers. Give me the Chargers on the road against New York, Philly to beat the Buccaneers, Texans at home against the Titans, Colts on the road against the Rams, 49ers remain undefeated against the Jacksonville Jaguars, Ravens beat the Chiefs, Chiefs beat the Ravens, Raiders beat the Bears, Packers beat the Cowboys, Dolphins beat the Jets, Broncos beat the Bengals. Before we can get to Sunday, we have to get through what is going to be a wild Saturday in college football. And it might be the best week in college football. Finally, the rubber meets the road. This is where you find out who's real and who's not and who's still figuring it out. Strap in, hydrate, and let's go. College football week 5. Happy Valley whiteout Saturday night. Oregon at Penn State, 7:30 on NBC. Top of the card, Oregon, Penn State, both undefeated. Both names that command RESPECT, Aretha. Both names that command respect. But let's be honest. The first few games for both teams, glorified scrimmages. You know, Penn State beat Nevada, FIU, Villanova by an average of 38 points per game. Oregon, same story. crushed middle-of-the-pack teams. Granted, Oregon did have some wins against some top 4 conference teams like Oklahoma State and others, but this is the night that it's going to get real. Penn State's defense is dominant. James Franklin adds Jim Knowles, best defensive mind in the country, and they force turnovers, shut down the big play, dominate the red zone. Offensively, Drew Aller has been careful, leaning on Nicholas Singleton and Katrin Allen, but can they hit the big players now against a defense like Oregon's? Oregon's defense has been sharp. Dante Moore, automatic. Receivers catching everything, pushing the ball downfield, scoring efficiently. Ducks defense not perfect versus the run, but they force passing downs and 3 and outs. Big crowd, wide out, noise pressure. This is college football at its finest. Give me Penn State to win that game. Alabama at Georgia. Alabama's margin for error is gone. After that, week 1 FSU loss. Georgia's defense is stout against the run, but not elite in the pass rush. Offensively, dogs can be explosive. Gunnar Stockton hitting big plays when necessary. Bama, Ty Simpson has been near perfect. Passing is elite. Run game struggling. Huge stakes, huge crowd. Classic SEC showdown. 7:30 Eastern on ABC. Give me Georgia. LSU at Ole Miss. 3:30 on ABC. Ole Miss looking for revenge. LSU trying to repeat last year's thriller. Chambliss is precise, mixing short and deep passes. LSU passes a ton. Running game is struggling. Defense dominating. Ole Miss run defense is weak. Pass defense is pretty solid. Narrative tension. Who's going to control the game? Expect another SEC shootout. And this one is a tough game to pick. Ole Miss is a 1.5-point favorite, but I don't know if Ole Miss can hang around with the big boys. So for that reason, I'm going LSU. Ohio State at Washington. Washington, one of the most entertaining offenses in the country. Demond Williams Jr., Jonah Coleman. But facing Ohio State on the road, rookie quarterback Julian saying gets tested here. Buckeyes defense elite. First road start. Blitzing Huskies. Yak. Yak, by the way, means yards a catch. Washington moves the chains well. Could be a thriller. I got to go with Ohio State in that game. They're a 7.5-point favorite, by the way. Florida State at Virginia. Keyword of the week, yak. Yards a catch. Just remember, yak. Yards a catch. Okay? Or yards after contact, too. Either way. But yak. Okay? Both teams excel here. FSU back in the top 10. Rushing attack strong. Virginia massive improvement. Veteran running back Jamari Taylor. 7 transfer starters. And that was a fun Friday night matchup that just happened, by the way. And what was the final score? It was 46-38 in overtime. Virginia outlasts Florida State. Chandler Morris scored on a 4-yard run in the second overtime, and Virginia beat number 8 Florida State 46-38 tonight for its first home victory of a top 10 team since also beating the Seminoles in 2005. Florida State was a 6.5-point favorite in that game, and Virginia beat them 46-38. It did take 2 overtimes, but they got it done. Okay, sorry about that. I thought this was Saturday games, not Friday games. Indiana at Iowa, 3:30 on Peacock. Indiana coming off a blowout of Illinois, has to avoid a classic letdown at Iowa. Hawkeyes have upset 4 top 15 teams at home in the past decade. Indiana's yak heavy offense will need magic, but I think the Hoosiers will win. They're a 7.5-point favorite. USC, Illinois, noon on Fox. USC's passing game is solid. Illinois will respond physically, but likely struggles to contain Jaden Maviava. Tight matchup, but USC has a talent advantage. Give me the Trojans at 6.5. BYU at Colorado. Nightcap on ESPN. BYU 4th in net. Yak. Mean defense. LJ Martin keeping offense balanced for freshman quarterback Bear Batchemeyer. Colorado found some footing last week, but BYU should control the line of scrimmage and clock. I like BYU. Navy at Rice. Classic Navy option football. Unbeaten. First in net. Yak. Moving the chains on the ground. Rice can run too, but Navy dominates the time of possession. Expect Navy to pull away. I like Navy in that game at 14.5. NC State and Virginia Tech, 7 p.m. on the CW. Watch Hollywood Smothers driving NC State's 3-1 start. Explosive back, primary reason they're winning. Virginia Tech receivers are dangerous, but Smothers could be the difference. I like NC State. UMass at Missouri. Mizzou's running balls back, and it's piling up yards. The Tigers should roll over UMass. Classic blowout candidate. Missouri's a 43.5-point favorite. They win. I don't know if they cover at 43.5. That's a lot of points, but give me Mizzou. So that's your Week 5 rundown. Big time matchups, SEC showdowns, top 10 battles, road tests for OSU, revenge games in LSU, Ole Miss, and Yak Kings everywhere. Hydrate, pay attention. It's going to be an intense weekend of college football because it already has. Virginia beat Florida State. Meanwhile, TCU and Arizona State are tied at 17 with 3 minutes left to play in the third. TCU was up 17-14 at the half. Arizona State kicked a field goal in the third quarter. Josh Hoover, quarterback for TCU, 13 of 20, 163 yards. No touchdowns, 1 interception. Sam Levitt, quarterback, Arizona State, 14 of 20, 210 yards, averaging 10.5 yards a throw for 1 touchdown that he ran in. 11 carries, 44 yards, 1 touchdown. Jordan Tyson also has a touchdown, 4 catches, 93 yards, his longest for 57. So that is what's going on in college football. From there to the NBA. And we continue our 30 teams in 30 days. Let's talk about the Miami Heat. A 37-45 record last season, 10th in the East. First sub-500 years since 2019, and yet they still found their way into the postseason. How? They grinded. They fought. They won 8 of their final 12. They went on the road, beat Chicago, beat Atlanta, back-to-back elimination games, first number 10 seed ever to make the playoffs. And yeah, they got swept by Cleveland in the first round. But look, the fight was there. So Polstra had him believing. He said it after that series, a group with a lot of character, a lot of Brazilians, and he's right. But now Now the challenge is different. Jimmy Butler's gone. Big trade. 5-team deal in February sent him to Golden State. Brought back Andrew Wiggins, Donovan Mitchell, Kyle Anderson. Anderson's gone now. Donovan Mitchell's, remember, he's gone now too with Cleveland. And so it's all, it's all different in Miami. Davion Mitchell. I'm sorry, I said Donovan Mitchell. Davion Mitchell. He is in Miami. Donovan Mitchell is not. Davion Mitchell. Kyle Anderson. Anderson's gone now too. Yeah, I was right. Davion Mitchell. Yeah, and he's with the Heat. But, yeah. But Kyle Anderson's gone. He's with Memphis now. Okay? And, all dealt out this summer. They reshaped this thing again. Norman Powell comes in, career year with the Clippers, 21 a night. You add them to Bam Adebayo, to Tyler Hero. There's still talent here, but let's be honest, it's not the same Heat team we've known the past few years. This is a transition year. They're young. They're retooling. They exercised the option on Keyshawn Johnson. They re-signed Mitchell. They drafted Kasparez and Jakunissis, a 20th pick who flashed in Summer League. They're building something new. Now, who is this team's X factor? Well, it's Kel Ware, second-year big man, 7-footer, defends the rim, finishes inside, can shoot a little in last year, and once he got in the starting lineup, he made a real impact. He's got to grow alongside Bam, because if he takes that next step, Miami's front court suddenly looks legit again. So the question, though, and it's a big question, can they close games? Because that's where it all fell apart last year. 22 losses after double-digit leads, 15 games lost when leading after the third quarter. That's not bad luck. That's execution. That's closing. So Poelstra's too good of a coach to let that happen again. You figure that number is going to come back to the mean. But it has to. You can't blow that money. And you can't blow that many leads and expect to win in this league. The metrics actually say they were better than their record. Positive net rating compared to most nights. So here's your hope. You've got Bam, the 3-time All-Star. You've got Hero, Jaquez, Ware, Mitchell, all under 27. Powell adds scoring. Wiggins, if he's locked in, brings defense and experience. It's a younger group, a hungrier group, but a group that needs to finish games. That's the key. You do that, you're back in the mix in the East. You don't, you're back in the playoffs. Dates to circle on your calendar. If you're a Heats fan, October 4th, your preseason opener against Orlando. Regular season starts October 22nd, also against Orlando. Home opener, the 26th versus the Knicks. NBA Cup action begins in November. They're in the group with the Hornets, Knicks, Bulls, and Bucks. Plenty of chances to see what they've got early. Bottom line here is the Heat, not the contender they were, but not a pushover either. So Poelstra's still there. They've got culture. Now it's about turning grit into wins. That's your look at the Heat. We'll see if they've got enough to climb back toward the East top tier. Okay, next team up, the Memphis Grizzlies. A 48-34 record last season, 8th in the West, back in the playoffs, but it didn't end the way they wanted. They started the season on fire after being dead last in scoring 2 years ago, just over 105 points a game. They turned it completely around. They were putting up 121.7 a night, almost led the league. John Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, that trio carried the load early, but the second half was a different story. They dropped 10 of their last 16. They lost their rhythm, and Taylor Jenkins, the winningest coach in franchise history, was let go before the season even ended. So now new direction, new coach, same core, mostly. They got into the playoffs as the 8th seed, ran into Oklahoma City, young, long, and deep, and the Thunder swept them. Memphis just couldn't handle Oklahoma City's defense. That series showed the gap between where the Grizzlies are and where they want to be. So what happened this offseason? A lot. They re-signed Sante Almada. They locked up Jaren Jackson Jr., long-term 5-year extension. That's huge. He's the centerpiece. Now 22 points a game, career best shooting from deep. He's a legit building block, but they traded Desmond Bane, gone to Orlando. That's a big piece. You lose 19 points per game, one of your best shooters. It changes your offense. They added Cladwell Pope, 2-time champion, veteran presence. They add Ty Jerome, who had the best year of his career, and Jock Landale, the front court depth. They drafted Cedric Coward, fast riser in the class, and a couple of second-rounders to fill out the bench. So, yeah, this is a roster in transition, but it's still built around John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. The X factor is John Morant. That's easy. When he's on the floor, he's electric. Top 10 athlete in the league. Can get the rhyme of anything he wants. He's averaged 23 or more in 4 straight seasons. He's improved defensively, 1.2 steals a game, and controls the rim every time when he's healthy. When he's locked in, Memphis is dangerous. Everything starts with him. Now, the big question, what's the identity of this team under Tomas Izolo? Last year they played fast, led the NBA in pace, over 103 possessions a night. They wanted to run teams out of the gym. That worked in the regular season, but in the playoffs, not so much. You wonder, does Izolo slow it down? Does he structure this offense more around Ja in the half court? Do they play with more control, more balance? Because come playoff time, you need execution. You need shooting. You need poise. They've got to figure that part out. Look, this team still has talent. Morant, Jackson, veterans like KCP. They can still compete in the West. But in a loaded conference, you can't just rely on athleticism. You have to grow up as a team. You have to defend, shoot, and close. Dates to mark on your calendar if you're a Grizzlies fan. October 6th, preseason tips off against Detroit. Regular season, October 22nd, home opener against New Orleans. And there in the NBA Cup West Group B, matchups with the Lakers, Mavericks, Pelicans, Clippers. They'll even play overseas, Berlin in January against Orlando. So we'll get plenty of looks at this group early. Bottom line is Memphis took a step back, but not out. A new coach, star power is still in place. They've got to find an identity. And if Ja's healthy and engaged, they'll be right there in the mix. That's the Memphis Grizzlies. And that is tonight's WNBA 30 in 30. For men's basketball, to a Friday night doubleheader in the WNBA. Will start in Indianapolis, where the Las Vegas Aces are 1 win away from their third WNBA Finals appearance in 4 years. Friday night, Jackie Young stole the show in her home state, scoring 25 points, while Nalisha Smith added 16, leading the Aces past a short-handed Indiana Fever 84-72 in Game 3 of the semifinals. Las Vegas now leads the best-of-5, Series 2-1, setting up a potential series-clinching game this Sunday in Indianapolis. Asia Wilson, the four-time MVP, struggled from the field opening the game with a three-pointer and missing her next 11 shots. She finished with 13 points on 6 of 20 shooting, but contributed 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 blocks. Chelsea Gray chipped in 15 points and 6 assists to help the Aces pull away late. For the Fever, Kelsey Mitchell led the charge with 21 points. Lexi Hull had a 16-point, 10-rebound double-double, and Aaliyah Boston added 12 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists, despite missing key players like Caitlin Clark, Sydney Colson, Ari McDonald, and Sophie Cunningham, the 2 season-ending injuries. Indiana hung tough early, holding a 16-4 advantage in offensive rebounds. The Fever struggled down the stretch, scoring nearly 9 minutes without a basket late in the third quarter. Las Vegas capitalized, scoring 8 straight points to extend a 71-59 lead midway through the fourth quarter. The Aces controlled much of the first half, jumping out to a 26-16 lead early in the second quarter. Indiana's resilience showed, however, with 3 straight three-pointers, cutting the lead to 35-34 at halftime. The Fever briefly took the lead in the second half on a Boston layup, but Las Vegas's defense clamped down, and the Aces pulled away to put themselves one win away from the WNBA Finals. That wasn't the only game going on, though. Minnesota taking on Phoenix. And how about the Phoenix Mercury? Game still going on, but it's all Phoenix. 82-76. Phoenix taking the lead in that series 2-1. And they now have a series clinching game on Sunday as well. Take a look at Phoenix and who were the big stars in that game. How about Thomas and Cooper and Salablay, all scoring 21 points. Unbelievable. Phoenix wins it 84-76. Friday night in Major League Baseball will start in Cleveland. Alejandro Ozuna crushed a 3-time three-run homer in the first, and rookie Jack Leiter struck out 10 over 7 strong innings as the Texas Rangers topped the Guardians 7-3. Cleveland remains tied with Detroit for the AL Central lead with a magic number of 2 to clinch a postseason spot. Kyle Mendarzo homered for the Guardians, but Texas' early surge proved too much. Ozuna has hit an 8 of Texas's last 9 games and is batting .304 in September. Miami, the Marlins rallied from a 2-0 deficit to beat the Mets 6-2 behind Sandy Alcataraz's 7+ innings and a pitch-hit 2-run homer by Connor Norbay. Xavier Edwards had 3 hits, and Ada Lopez added a double and a single. Brandon Spiratt struggled early for New York, giving up 4 runs over 4 2/3 innings. Boston, walk-off magic for the Red Sox. Candice Raffaella tripled in the 9th to drive in the game-winning run as Boston overcame a 3-0 deficit to beat the Tigers 4-3. Mastraka Yashada had 3 hits, and Aroldis Chapman closed it out for the victory. Boston clinches its first postseason berth since 2021 with 2 games remaining. In Toronto, Nathan Lukes went deep with a 2-run homer, and Shane Bieber pitched 5 solid innings as the Blue Jays beat the Rays 4-2 to remain atop the AL East. George Springer scored twice, and Toronto improved to 52-27 at home. In Philadelphia, Aaron Nola dazzled, taking a perfect game into the 6th, striking out 9, and leading to a Phillies past the Twins 3-1. Nola moved to second on Philadelphia's career strikeout list behind Steve Carlton, Edmundo Sosa added a solo homer, and Johan Duran closed for the save. In Washington, Colson Montgomery's ninth inning two-run homer capped a 10-9 comeback for the White Sox over the Nationals, snapping Chicago's 5-game losing streak. Sosa went 3 for 3 with a homer and 3 RBIs. Washington hit 6 homers but couldn't hold the lead. In Chicago, a historic night for the Cubs. Pete Crow Armstrong joined the 30-30 club, homers and steals. Suzuki slammed a grand slam, and Chicago crushed the Cardinals 12-1, moving closer to securing home field advantage in the playoffs. Michael Busch added 2 RBIs, and Colin Ray held St. Louis to 2 hits in 5 2/3 innings. Other games going on in Major League Baseball right now. Rockies and the Giants. Giants lead at that game in San Francisco, bottom of the 6th. Royals and the Athletics are tied at 3, top of the 6th. Dodgers are leading the Mariners 3-1, top of the 7th. Diamondbacks and the Padres lead at 6-2, top of the 7th. Angels and the Astros lead at 3-2 in Anaheim, bottom of the 7th. Yankees defeated the Orioles 8-4. Reds defeated the Brewers 3-1. Pirates over the Braves 9-3. Wild card begins Tuesday, September 30th, Monday night on this program. We will give you the full preview of MLB baseball. You don't want to miss it. We know the Dodgers have one wild card game. We know the Cubs and the Padres have a wild card game. We know that in the NLDS, the Brewers are there and the Phillies are there. But other than that, we know absolutely nothing. Here is tonight's final thought. It's a story that shakes you to your core and yet also forces us to confront some hard truths. Earlier this year, Shane Tamura, a 27-year-old former high school football player, killed 4 people in a Manhattan office tower that houses the NFL. Then he took his own life. The city medical examiner now confirms that he had CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, a degenerate brain disease linked to repetitive head trauma. Tamura left a note. He said he believed he had this disease and he pleaded, "Study my brain." He blamed the NFL, accusing the league of putting profits ahead of player safety. And while that note does not excuse the horrific violence he committed, it underscores the very real dangers of a sport many Americans love. Tamura never played professionally. He was a high school athlete, yet CTE does not discriminate. It affects regions of the brain that govern behavior and impulse control. Experts caution that it can not be blamed for the specific actions, but the disease changes the mind nonetheless. Tamura struggled with mental health, depression, migraines, and insomnia, a history of trauma, a disease in his brain, and the unimaginable acts that followed. This story is a reminder, grim and clear, of the intersection of sports, mental health, and human accountability. There are no easy answers, only the responsibility to study, to understand, and to learn. That'll do it for me on this Friday night. Till next time, Ryder Bullock reporting. Thank you for your time, and thank you for letting me share mine.